भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत कृष्ण कृष्ण श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत इति नमस्ते सरस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा. So you have to follow the beat. Okay, if you want to play kartal, you should follow the beat. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay. So Prabhu, somebody can show them, show the children.
No.
निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशधारिणे नमस्ते सरस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशधारिणे Shari Hare Krishna, everyone.
Hare Krishna.
Family just recently got Srimad Bhagavatam, so then we should inaugurate and read from Bhagavatam. So the kids How old are you? All of you?
I'm 9.
9. Okay, so today I'm going to tell you a story of a 5-year-old boy. You want to hear? Okay. Thank you all for coming and taking time from your Sunday morning. We'll start with some prayers. We'll chant. Please repeat after me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskritya
Narayanam Namaskritya
Naram Chaiva Narottamam
Naram Chaiva Narottamam
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam
Tato Jayamudhiraye
Tato Jayamudhiraye
Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu
Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Nityam Bhagavatam Sevaya
Bhagavati Ruttama Shloke
Bhagavati Uttamam Shloke
Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki
Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtaki
Krishnaya Vasudevaya
Krishnaya Vasudevaya
Devaki Nandanaya cha
Devaki Nandanaya cha
Nanda Gopa Kumaraya
Nanda Gopakumaraya
Shri Govindaya Namo Namaha
Shri Govindaya Namo Namaha
Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam
Panchatattvatkam Krishnam
Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam
Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam
Bhaktavataram Bhaktakhyam
Bhaktavataram Bhaktakhyam
Namami Bhakta Shaktikam
Namami Bhakta Shaktikam
He Krishna Karuna Sindhu
He Krishna Karuna Sindhu
Deenabandhu Jagatpate
Deenabandhu Jagatpate
Gopesh Gopika Kanta
Gopesh Gopika Kanta
Shri Radha Kanta Namostute
Shri Radha Kanta Namostute
Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi
Tapta Kanchan Gaurangi
Radhe Vrindavaneshwari
Radhe Vrindavaneshwari
Vrishabhanu Sute Devi
Vrishvanu Sute Devi
Pranamami Hari Priye
Pranamami Hari Priye
Vansha Kalpatarubhyascha
Vancha Kalpatarubhyaksha
Kripa Sindhubhya Eva cha
Kripa Sindhubhyevacha
Patitanam Pavanebhyo
Patitanam Pavnebhyo
Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha
Vaishnavebhyo Namo
Om
Namaha
Ajnanatimirandhasya
Om Ajnanatimirandhasya
Jnananjana Shalakaya
Jnananjana Shalakaya
Chakshur Unmilitam Yena
Chakshur Unmilitam Yena
Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha
Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha
Shri Krishna Chaitanya
Shri Krishna Chaitanya
Prabhu Nityananda
Prabhu Nityananda
Sri Advaita Gadadhara
Shri Advaita Gadadhara
Srivas Adi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda
Srivas Adi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare
Hare Ram Hare Ram
Hare Ram Hare Ram
Ramo Ram Hare Hare
Ram Ram Hare Hare
Nama Om Vishnupadaya
Nama Om Vishnupadaya
Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale
Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale
Srimate Bhakti Vedanta
Srimate Bhakti Vedanta
Swami Niti Namine
Swami Niti Namine
Namaste Saraswate Deve
Namaste Saraswati Deve
Gauravani Pracharine
Gauravani Pracharine
Nirvishesha Shunyavadi
Nirvishesha Shunyavadi
Paschatya Deshatarine
Paschatya Deshatarine
So this discussion that we are about to talk about today happened between Maitreya Muni and Vidura. And they were discussing a pastime that happened many millions of years ago. It's a very old story that they're discussing about the story of one of the descendants of Brahma. So Brahma is the creator of the material universe. He's created all the material universes under the direction of God, under the direction of Krishna. So Brahma's son, his name is Swambhuva Manu. What is his name? Manu. And his son, he had a son whose name was Uttanapad. King Uttanapad. King Uttanapad was the king of the universe, king of the material universe. And King Uttanapad had two wives. His two wives, one was called Suniti, and the other was Suruchi. And through Suruchi, he had a son whose name was Uttam. And through Suniti, he had a son whose name was Dhruva. And the king was more favorable towards Suruchi, and he was not so favorable towards Suniti, because she was his favorite queen and she had the power over him. So today what we will learn from this pastime is what Dhruva Maharaj did, what Dhruva did, what is his pastime. He was a 5-year-old boy, and what a 5-year-old boy accomplished is what we will hear today. We'll keep it fairly interactive, so if you have questions you can ask as we go along. And then this is a very long pastime, so I will speak it in summary. And because if you really go deep into this pastime of Dhruva Maharaj, it may take like 5 or 6 sessions of 1.5 hours each. So I will try to speak it in a way that we don't miss the main points, but still understand the story of Dhruva Maharaj. So how many of you have heard the story of Dhruva Maharaj? Huh? Dhruva, you've heard? Yeah. The kids have also heard. Hmm?
It used to be called Dhruva Bar.
Yeah, same.
Okay, same.
So, Dhruva was just 5 years old. And he saw that his brother Uttam was sitting on the lap of his father. Sitting on the lap of his father. And so just like any other child, he also wanted to go and sit on the lap of his father. So when he tried to get on the lap of his father, Uttam's mother, Suruchi, who's also his stepmother, she prevented it from getting on the lap of his father. So she said that you have no right to sit on the lap of the king. Only Uttam has the right to sit on the lap of the king. And she severely chastised him. She severely rebuked him, saying that you have no right to sit on the lap of your father. Only my son has the right to sit on the lap of the father. And she said that she very she was not at all kind to. She said that, my dear child, you do not deserve to sit on the throne or the lap of the king. Surely you are also the son of the king. But because you did not take birth from my womb, you are not qualified to sit on your father's lap. So you're trying to fulfill a desire which is impossible to fulfill. Since you were not born from me, you cannot sit on your father's lap. Only my son can sit. And she said that if you want to sit on your father's lap, then you have to undergo severe austerities and satisfy the Supreme Lord, Krishna himself. And then, when you're favored by him, you will have the opportunity to take birth from my womb. And then you can sit on your father's lap. Essentially, she's telling him that he has to give up his body. Because once you're already born, the only way you can take birth again from somebody else's womb is if you give up your life. So she's telling the little child, 5-year-old, that only if you die and take birth from my womb, then can you have a chance to sit. So in this lifetime, there is no chance of sitting on your father's lap. So she told him in these very harsh words. And for a child, small child, it's too much for a child. It's very hard to accept something like this. So Dhruva became very, very upset, very angry. And it was almost like he was so angry and he was shaking and trembling, just like if you trample on a snake, how the snake becomes angry and starts hissing. He became so angry. Because he was Kshatriya, the Kshatriya family. And Kshatriyas are known for their valor and their courage. And one of the few things that they're not known for is their ability to tolerate insult and so on and so forth. So they're not very tolerant or patient. So that is one of the characteristics of Kshatriya. They are virile, they can fight in a battle and so on and so forth. So he was very upset and he immediately left that place. And then he went to the place where his mother was. Suniti was sitting and he was crying. He was completely in tears. So he reached his mother, his lips were trembling in anger. He was crying very grievously. And so she asked him what happened. And then the people told her that this is what happened. The other maidservants and others narrated the incident. They said that this is what happened. This poor child, he only wanted to sit on the lap of his father. There was no question of, it was not like he was asking for the throne or to be made the king or anything. He just wanted to sit on the lap of his father. Simple thing. Kids do that all the time. There's no ceremony associated with sitting on the father's lap. It's just a normal daily thing that kids do. But even such a simple thing was not allowed. And so he was extremely upset. He was crying. And Suniti, when she heard this, she became very, very upset. And she started lamenting and she started crying. And she said she did not know any remedy for the situation. She said, what can I do? Your father does not favor me. He favors Suruchi. And so I'm just treated like a maidservant. So although you may be momentarily upset with what your mother said, what she said is true. So she said two things that are true. One, that because you're my son and you're not the son of Suruchi, your father, the king, does not favor me so much, so he's not going to allow you to sit on his lap. And more importantly, when Suruchi rebuked Dhruva, even King Uttanapad did not say anything. He didn't stop her or he didn't prevent her from doing it. Although he wanted to, but he was so afraid of hurting or alienating his favorite wife that he didn't want to upset her, so he didn't say anything. So although he was not directly responsible for pushing Dhruva away, by being silent, he became party to that whole activity. Right? So a lot of times we may feel that so many things are happening around us and we're not directly responsible for it. But if you're implicitly involved, then that means you're involved as well. So our responsibility doesn't end just with not being the perpetrator of an activity. If you're also observing an injustice being done and not preventing it, if you have the power to prevent it, Sometimes you don't have the power to prevent something, right? And then that's a different story. But something which is in your power to prevent and you don't prevent it, then you're equally responsible for that activity. And so King Uttanapad was responsible for that activity. That the king, being the king, he could have always said, no, why are you preventing Dhruva from sitting on my lap? What is the problem? Right? And then since he was the king, the queen could not have continued arguing with him. It doesn't work that way. So the king says something, that's it, the final word. But he didn't say anything, and he allowed the queen to dominate the situation, because of which he also became implicated in the responsibility of that activity. So Queen Suniti said that your mother Suruchi, although she spoke harshly and upset you, has said two things which are actually correct. What are those two things? First thing is that since I'm not the favorite queen, I'm not favored by the king, the fact that you're not born from me does disqualify you from sitting on the king's lap, because he treats me just like a maidservant. So a maidservant's child has no right to sit on the king's lap. That's one. And then, so he says, so don't find fault. So she teaches him, saying that in spite of being rebuked in that way, she says, do not wish for anything inauspicious for anyone. So she teaches him that don't wish for anything inauspicious for your stepmother. Because everyone is controlled by their modes of nature. So in life, we know that we cannot control others. We can only control how we react to others. Right? We can never control anybody else. We may think we control our spouse or children, but really cannot control anybody. The only thing you can really control is how you react to situations. And how you react to situations decides whether you're going to be happy or not. That's basically it. Right? So if you think that your happiness is going to be dependent on how other people act or behave, then it's always going to be disappointment. Because you may be able to control them for a period of time, but eventually it's going to result in disappointment. Eventually. Any situation. Could be your children, could be your spouse, could be friends, could be anybody. Right? So anybody in the material world ultimately will result in disappointment. If your happiness is dependent on how they react with you. Your relatives could be your relatives, could be your children. You expect your children to behave in a certain way with you, and it may not behave in a certain way with you. Your colleagues, your friends, it will not work. If your expectation of happiness is derived from how they behave with you, you may be happy today, but eventually it will result in disappointment. Always does. I'm not speaking something which is unproven. If you ask anybody in the world, take a poll, and you will get the same answer. So our happiness has to be derived from how our reactions are to stimulus, not how people react to us. That's one. So she says, don't wish for anything inauspicious. Anyone who inflicts pain upon others suffers himself from that pain. So she teaches them not to wish for inauspicious things for Suruchi. And she tells two things your mother's saying right. The first is that since you're not born from her womb, and I'm not the favored queen, how can you expect to sit? And secondly, Suruchi says that you pray to Lord Krishna, Lord Narayan, pray to him, Supreme Lord. And that is the only thing that can make you happy.
Excuse me.
Right? So she says that whatever has been spoken by Suruchi, your stepmother, although very harsh to hear, is factual. Therefore, if you desire to sit on the same throne as your stepbrother, Uttama, then give up your envious attitude and immediately try to execute the instructions of your stepmother. Because what she's saying is true. Without further delay, you must engage yourself in worshipping the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. And then she says some additional verses. She talks about what is the benefit of worshipping the Lord? She says, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is so great that by simply worshipping his lotus feet, your great-grandfather, Lord Brahma, acquired the necessary qualifications for creating the universe. So by the grace of Krishna, he got the ability to create the universe. And Brahma is called Aja, or unborn. So although he's unborn and is the chief of the living creatures, he is situated in that exalted post because of the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, whom even great yogis worship by controlling the mind and regulating life air. So she's explaining how to worship. And he explains how his grandfather, Swayambhu Manu, also got power by worshipping the Lord. So she says, when she says, my dear Dhruva, as far as I'm concerned, I do not find anyone who can mitigate your distress but the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose eyes are like lotus petals. Many demigods or devatas like Brahma and Shiva take pleasure in the worship of Lord Krishna. So she's explaining how we can worship Krishna. So when Dhruva heard this, he decided to leave the palace and go to find the Lord. So he wanted to find Krishna. He wanted to find the Lord. Because he was so upset, he was so angry, that he was ready to do anything to get what he wanted. He said, my father has this kingdom, which is this entire world, earth is this kingdom, and Suruchi will not let me sit on the same lap with my father because of this kingdom, so I will go and worship the Lord and ask for a kingdom that is even greater than the kingdom of my great-grandfather, Brahma. Brahma has created the whole universe. So she's saying, I want something that is even greater than what Brahma has. That is my objective. So he goes to the forest to find Krishna. So the first quality that Dhruva is exhibiting here is that he has material desires. He has material desires, but he's honest about it. He's not saying I have some very transcendental desires. He's saying my desire is I want a kingdom. So a lot of times we have desires, right? That I need this, I need that, I need the other thing. But none of our desires compared to what Dhruva had. Right? We may have a desire to get a kingdom, or we may have a desire to get a nice car or $1 million, but has anybody ever had a desire to get a kingdom greater than Brahma? No. Because we don't even think that much. Right? Our ability to think also is so little that Dhruva wanted a kingdom greater than his great-grandfather. So he goes to the forest. So that is the situation. So then Narada Muni heard this news. So Narada Muni heard that Dhruva is going to the forest. Narada Muni is the greatest devotee of the Lord. So if you read the pages of the Srimad Bhagavatam is 18,000 verses. This is part 1 of the 4th canto. There are 18 books like this, which is Srimad Bhagavatam, which Prabhu has. So if you anybody wants to see the Bhagavatam, take darshan, you can take darshan. There is 18 books like this. So I'm just reading from one part of the 4th canto. The whole Bhagavatam is full of nectar, full of stories like this. So Narada Muni, and we have to understand the position of Narada Muni. Narada Muni is the greatest spiritual master, the greatest guru. So unfortunately, in people who are usually from India, they end up making a lot of offense to Narada Muni, thinking that he's some kind of funny person. That's very offensive. We cannot even think like that. Narada Muni is the greatest devotee of the Lord. So even thinking in those ways is highly offensive. So we should, if we have even in our past thought like that, we should fall at the feet of Narada Muni and say, in my ignorance, I sometimes felt like that, but He's a supreme devotee of the Lord. And it is because of His mercy that all the great devotees of the Lord got the ability to understand what is Krishna. Even Prahlad Maharaj in the womb of his mother, he heard from Narada Muni. That is how he became devotee. That's how he became attached to Krishna. That is how he became attached to the Lord. Because he heard about the message of Krishna when he was still in the womb of his mother. So Dhruva was only 5. And same with Prahlad Maharaj. He was in the womb of his mother. And when he was instructing his classmates on the science of bhakti, that life has to be spent in chanting Krishna's name, in hearing glories of Krishna and worshipping Krishna and becoming unalloyed and fixed devotee of Krishna. And he says that I'm already 5 years old. I wasted so much time. I cannot waste any more time. I have to spend all my time focusing on Krishna. Whereas people say that we are young now, we have to get older, we have so many responsibilities. When we finish our responsibilities, at that time we will practice bhakti. How is it possible? If you have not trained yourself from the beginning to practice bhakti, how at the age of 90 you will practice bhakti? How is it possible? So we have already wasted so many years not practicing bhakti, then we should not waste a single second more. Because time will not come back. That is our most precious commodity that we have. If you lose money, you can still earn it back somehow. And how much money you need anyway? Right? Somebody was saying that the day you die, how much ever money you have left in the bank is the amount of time you should not have worked. You should have done other things. Right? Even if you have $1 million, I'm not saying something which is outlandish, you can eat only 2 chapatis, right? How many chapati you can eat? Just because you have $1 million, you can eat 100 chapatis for lunch? No. So we need some Lakshmi for our survival. But Lakshmi is to be used in service of Narayan. Everybody wants Lakshmi but don't want Narayan. How is it possible? How is it possible? Right? So if I say to Mataji, please come to our house for dinner, don't bring your husband. We don't like him. So you come. Will you go?
No. Can do it.
How do you think Lakshmi will come? If you want to worship Lakshmi without worshipping Narayan. How is it possible? So we have to give up all these foolish ideas. Right? Just because we did something for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, doesn't mean it is correct. So we get Shastra knowledge directly, we should accept. The purpose of life is to become devotee of God. That is the purpose of life. Purpose of life is not to become programmer or engineer or doctor. All that is fine. In Shastra, it is explained that if you become a mother, father, spiritual master, you cannot become any of the husband, you cannot become any of these positions unless you have a plan to deliver the person you're taking control of from the clutches of birth and death. You make them a devotee of the Lord, only then you can take these positions. The Shastra doesn't say that you can become a parent only if you send your kid to Harvard. No. Right? The Shastra doesn't say that only if your children become engineers or surgeons, then you're successful. It says unless your children may become successful materially, they may become engineers, PhDs, whatever, but if they are not becoming devotees of the Lord, then we should understand that we have not been successful. That is the objective of life. And only in human life, you can become bhakta. You don't have any animals sitting and trying to hear, right? Animals don't ask, they live by instinct. But a human being also lives $1 million home. But as far as the idea of living in a house is concerned, in the absolute sense, it's the same thing. You may eat in a very nice plate with 10 servants bringing nice food to you. A bear may jump in the river and catch the fish and eat it. But can you say that the pleasure you derive by eating is more than the pleasure that the bear derives by eating that fish? No. The hunger is there, hunger is satisfied, the same pleasure is coming. So how is your eating in a nice way more sophisticated than an animal. Right? Animals also have children. We also have children. What is the difference? Animals also care for their children. We also care. Right? Animals also sleep. We also sleep. Are you saying that the pleasure of sleep you get in a nice bedroom is more than the pleasure of sleep an animal gets in a den? No, the same pleasure. So if our whole life is focused on these things, then how we can consider ourselves more sophisticated than animals? And that is what Dhruva Maharaj is saying, that it's showing us that at the age of 5, his focus is to practice Krishna consciousness. He's not thinking that, oh, I'm so young, so let me just do all these other things. So that's what Shastra says, that youth is spent, childhood is spent in playing, youth is spent in doing frivolous activities, and our young time is spent running behind family and so on and so forth. And by the time we realize that, oh, whole life is gone, when will I focus on Krishna consciousness? When will I do bhakti? And at that time, we will have no ability to focus on bhakti. One time, Srila Prabhupada, our founder of the ISKCON movement, he was here, and some reporter was asking him that, so why are you only having all these young people in your movement? Why is it full of young people? Kind of showing that you're kind of trying to brainwash young people. So Prabhupada immediately asked her, so why do you have young people in universities? Why not old people? Why are colleges full of young people? That is the age of learning. That is when you can get spiritual knowledge. When you're old and you're not able to change your ideas, there is no point. Even if somebody explains to you, you will not understand. So that reporter had nothing to say, which is true. But, so we may not be super young today. We may not be, and the kids are young, they should start Krishna consciousness at this age. So it's not like they should think that, oh, I'm only 5, I'm only 9. No. Bhakti has to be every aspect of life. And you execute bhakti to the level you can execute. So you have deities at home, children can offer bhoga, they can do arti, they can do all those things. Make connection. That is the process of bhakti. Very simple to execute. Krishna consciousness is very simple to execute. And it is an experience, it is a practice. It is not just for hearing and going home and doing whatever you want. It's like this is like the highest medicine we can give for people who are afflicted by material illness. But if the doctor gives you medicine and if you don't eat it, then it is not going to help you. It's not just the physical presence of the doctor that cures the person. Right? So if you go to the doctor and say, I met the doctor, I'm feeling much better. No, you feel better if you take medicine. Similarly, we will feel better from this material affliction if we chant holy name, take prasadam. Right? We chanted Hare Krishna. So chant Krishna's name, take prasadam. What prasadam taking is very easy. People think prasadam is maybe once in a while you'll get some almond or some. No. Everything we eat has to be prasadam. Everything we eat. When we cook at home, first thing we should offer to God. Krishna has to get that plate. Whatever we eat. Not like once a year on some festival we'll offer Krishna. We eat every day, right? How come we offer Krishna only once a year? How is that acceptable? He is the biggest guest in our house. He's the owner of the house. So anything we make lunch. So today you will see we will take prasadam. So whatever food has been prepared, bhoga will be offered and then we will take prasadam. That becomes prasadam. Very easy. And the thing is, it's not going to get less also. If you put 10 laddus for Krishna, he's so merciful that he will take those 10 laddus and give them back to you. You can eat all 10 laddus if you want. It's not like he will take away 6 and you'll only have 4. Right? So even that happened, then there is some tension, right? Okay, what's going to happen? So please offer prasadam, chant Krishna's name. So Dhruva, so Narada Muni is so merciful that he sees Dhruva. And he asks Dhruva, so where are you going? So what does it matter? He said, no, this is what happened. I'm very upset. So Dhruva is like very angry, and Narada Muni tells him, but you're only a child. Right? Go back and play. Why are you so upset? He wants to test him. What is his determination? He says, go back and play. He says, no, I cannot. Because I'm very angry. So he tells him, okay, So if you're just a child, right, then you should not take the words of your stepmother so seriously. Because small child like this, somebody rebukes him, he will not think anything about it. Next 5 minutes he'll be doing the same thing. He won't worry so much. So he will not keep in his heart and become very upset and so on and so forth. Children are not like that. This is if you're a child and you're innocent, then you should not take the words of your stepmother so seriously. It's okay. She said something, fine. Forget it and move on. But if you think you're not a child and you're mature, then you should forgive. So he said if you're a child, then you should forget. And if you're not a child and if you're advanced, you think you're advanced and mature, then you should forgive. Because if you're so advanced, then somebody says something harsh to you, you shouldn't react so badly. You should just forgive. So either way, there is no reason to leave home and go to the forest like this. If you consider yourself very advanced, then forgive. And if you consider yourself just a child, which you are, then forget. Either way, you're fine. Go home. So Dhruva said, no, this is not possible. Whatever instructions you're given may be suitable for someone in the mode of goodness. For a Brahmana, it is fine. But I'm a Kshatriya. I cannot forget like this. My whole body is like, I want to do this. And so, Dhruva is exhibiting quality of determination. And plus, again, he's being truthful. He says that, whatever instruction you're giving me, I cannot execute. So tell me something I can execute. I want to hit my goal. So he's being honest with himself. And he's saying, whatever instruction you're giving me is correct, that I should forgive, but I'm not capable of forgiving. I need to hit my goal. So Narada Muni finally tries a lot of things and finally understands that Dhruva is determined. And he says, okay, if this is a determination, then you should go to this place called Vrindavan. In Madhuban, go to Madhuban, and on the banks of the river Yamuna, with the mud on the banks of the river, you can make a nice deity of Krishna and worship that deity. You can perform dhyana, you can perform yogic processes I'll teach you of breathing and focusing on the Lord. And then he says you can chant this mantra, which is the Maha Mantra of the Sati Yuga, called Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Can you chant after me? Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So all yugas have a specific mantra, which is the Maha Mantra for the yuga. For Kali Yuga, the Maha Mantra is Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. In Kali Santarana Upanishad it is said, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Iti Shodashakam Namnam, Kali Kalmashanashanam. This 16-word mantra is the mantra for destroying the ill effects of Kali Yuga. Nataparotaropaya sarva vedeshu drishyate. All the Vedas say that there is no other way outside of this mantra in Kali Yuga. Harer Nam, eva kevalam, kalo nasteva gatir anyatha. So in Kali Yuga, there is no other way other than chanting the holy name of the Lord. There's no other way. This is the only way. So it's not some concocted mantra which has been brought up. This is from the Vedic literatures. And for Kali Yuga, this is the mantra to chant. So he teaches him this mantra. And now I'll speed up a little bit the story. And we can speak about some of the other qualities of Dhruva Maharaj. So Dhruva then goes to the banks of the river Yamuna. He makes a deity of the Lord. And he starts practicing this yoga practice of chanting Krishna's name. So he keeps chanting Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, and focusing his attention on the Lord. He's focusing attention on the Lord. And he's only 5 years old. He's not 60 years old or 50s. Only 5 years old, 5-year-old boy. He's chanting Krishna's name. So now he's exhibiting his. So first quality was he was honest, thoroughly honest. So for spiritual practice, we have to be thoroughly honest, internally and externally. Right? And then he was very determined. Right? So for any activity, even if it's simply some material goal, right? If you want to finish even some project, you got to be determined. If you're not determined, it will not finish. So what about the supreme goal? Right? How can he be any less determined and try to achieve supreme goal? So he was very determined. The third thing was he was very sincere. The sincerity and determination are very critical for spiritual practice. So the practices, so the qualities that are essential are, one is you got to have faith. Because even people who say they don't have faith in something. You have to have faith in something. When you go to bed at night, you have faith you will get up, right, in the morning. You will not die in the middle of the night. That's why you set an alarm. If you don't have faith in the Bible, you even set an alarm. When you drove here, you have faith that the person in the car the next lane is not going to suddenly turn and ram into you. That's why you're confidently driving. You don't even know who that person is. He may be on drugs, you have no idea. But you're fairly confident that you will get here when you start driving. But you have faith that, okay, system was designed in such a way that it will work. You don't verify things to the nth degree, right? You open a faucet, you get water, you drink the water. You have faith that there's no poison in the water, but you don't know who put what in the water. You have no idea. But still you have faith. So we have faith in so many things. Even people who say they don't have faith in so many things. But when it comes to faith in the Lord, we have all sorts of questions in our head. I'm a scientific person, I have to have faith. But we have faith in so many things. This is so scientific. If you have the patience to understand systematically, this is a science. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, that idam tute guhyatamam pravakshyami anusuyave jnana vijnana saitam yat gyatva mokshasya shubhat. He says in the 8th chapter, Bhagavad Gita says, idam tute guhyatamam. Guhyatamam means, guhya means what? Anybody know guhya means? Secret. Guhyatamam means topmost secret. So this topmost secret, pravakshya means I will say to you, anusuyave. Anusuyave is one who is non-envious. Anusuya means one who is non-envious. So only if you're non-envious you can understand the glories of the Lord. If you're envious, you start thinking, why him, why not me? You cannot understand. And this is jnana vijnana saitam. What is jnana?
Knowledge.
And what is vijnana?
Science.
What is the difference between jnana and vijnana?
Vijnana means what? You said?
Science.
Vijnana is science.
So what is the difference between jnana and vijnana?
Knowledge is something you consider theory, but science is something you apply in practice.
Exactly. So jnana is theoretical knowledge and vijnana is practical application of that knowledge. Right?
Science.
So the Bhagavad Gita is not just some theoretical knowledge, it's practical application. It says jnana vijnana saitam. I'll teach you jnana and vijnana. Yad gyatva, by knowing which, mokshase, you will be liberated from ashubhat, from all inauspicious things. So he's giving us guarantee. And he's telling us that this is the most confidential knowledge I'm going to give you. But we have to have the interest and ability to understand it and read it. It is there. When Krishna gave Bhagavad Gita on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, he gave everybody. Everybody was allowed to hear. But if you're not able to understand and accept it, right, then you will not get anything. Just like in a school, teacher teaches a subject, all students have opportunity to hear equally. Some students get A grades, some students flunk out. It is not like the teacher is teaching the A grade students better and not teaching the kids who are flunking out. But based on their interest and their ability to accept, they accept at different levels. Right? If you don't accept, then right? Just like if you drive around any neighborhood, some yards are very beautiful with a lot of flowers and so on. Some yards are like totally barren. It's not like it rained more in that yard, so they have more flowers. It rained less in this yard. No. But what did you do to prepare yourself to grow those flowers? Right? To sow the right seeds and plants and water it and so on and so forth, or fertilize it or whatever. We didn't have to do that. Similarly, in our hearts, in our lives, we have to be prepared to accept the message. Only then we will understand. Otherwise, it's available, but it will completely escape us. So, he starts practicing sincerely. So he has faith, he has determination. Now he's sincerely practicing the process that has been given to him. So he's not like, yeah, he gave me the process, but who knows if it's going to work or not. So why unnecessarily I should waste my time? Let me try to figure something out my own. He didn't do that. He had faith in Acharya. For Prabhupada said, chant Krishna's name, we should have faith. Chant Krishna's name sincerely. Not like, how about this, how about that? No. We cannot keep doing research. Life is short. We don't know what will happen tomorrow. So we have to catch on and practice. He was sincerely practicing. For the first month, every 3 days, he would eat whatever fruits and berries he could find. Once every 3 days, not like he would eat all the time. Once every 3 days, he would eat whatever fruits and berries he could find, and then focus the rest of his time on worshipping the Lord and chanting this mantra, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, constantly. In the second month, every 6 days, he would just eat some dry leaves that he would find. Every 6 days, once. And rest of the time, he would focus on meditating upon the Lord. Not that he's thinking when the next 6th day will come. He was constantly focused on, this is just a side product. That's okay, he would get up and he would take some leaves and he would eat. In the third month, every 9 days, he would just take a little bit of water from the Yamuna and drink. That was all he would do. No food anymore. Just take a little water from the Yamuna and 100% focused, not deviated. Not like he's thinking something else. He's thinking, I don't know what Uttam must be doing now. Must be eating rasgulla. He's not thinking like that. He's focused on yeah, Krishna, chanting Krishna's name. In the fourth month, he even stopped drinking water. Every 12 days, he would take one breath of air. That's it. And then he would continue his sadhana. So every 12 days, one breath of air he would take. No food, no water, just one breath of air. And in the 5th month, he even stopped breathing completely. And he was completely focused on this yoga practice. And this yoga practice, the word yoga means union. It comes from the Sanskrit root word called yuj. And the English word yoke also comes from the same root actually. Yoke is to connect oxen or whatever, yoke something, right? Same root word. So yoga has no meaning if union with what? With whom? Not with yourself. So there has to be God in the mix. When people say I'm a karma yogi, but where is God in this picture? You're just karmi, you're not karma yogi. If there is no God, then there is no karma yoga, right? When you're in a relationship, there has to be one more person. You cannot say I'm in a relationship with myself. There has to be one more person to exchange. Otherwise there is no relationship. Similarly in bhakti, there has to be God. So this yoga practice, people just nowadays are aware of the asanas and the sitting postures and so on and so forth. But they're not really aware of what Ashtanga Yoga is. And with Ashtanga Yoga practice of Yam, Niyam, Asan, Pranayam, Pratyahar, Dhyana, Dharana and Samadhi, this eightfold process, you can actually get a lot of mystic siddhis. And the practitioners of yoga can live without eating, without breathing. It's all possible. We just don't know the science anymore. There are people who know the science, but we don't know it. So if we don't know it, we think it's not possible. But Dhruva Maharaj practiced it. He was taught by Narada Muni how to practice it. He practiced it. And it got to a point where he was unable to, he was not breathing, and he started controlling the flow of air in the whole universe. And everybody started having trouble breathing because there was no air anymore. Dhruva Maharaj stopped breathing. It's so powerful. But finally, Lord Krishna, in the form of Narayan, he came. He said, okay, I'm satisfied. So he came. And so Dhruva was 100% focused on the Lord. He's seeing the Lord in front of his eyes. His eyes are closed and he's seeing him in front of his eyes. The beautiful form of the Lord. With his yellow garments, his bluish complexion, his forearm form with conch shell, club, disc, and a flower. Shankha Chakra Gatha Padma. He's seeing beautiful form of the Lord. With the Kaustubha gem and the beautiful lotus-like face of the Lord. And he's completely satisfied seeing the face of the Lord. Right? That was just. I'll explain that later on. But anyway, so he was completely focused on the shape, the form of the Lord, and all of a sudden the form disappeared from his eyes, and he became very disturbed. And he opened his eyes and he saw that the same Lord who was sitting inside his heart is now outside on his Garuda. So he was so overwhelmed when he saw the Supreme Lord that he fell on the ground like a rod, Dandavat. He fell on the ground. And he was a 5-year-old boy. He has not undergone any learning of Sanskrit or Vedas or anything. So he doesn't know how to offer any prayers. And so the Lord touches him with his conch shell. The moment the Lord touches him, he starts elaborately and eloquently worshipping the Lord in poetry. And all those prayers are in the Bhagavatam. I'm not going into the details. And the Lord says, so what do you want? And the Lord knows everything, but he still asks him, what do you want? And Dhruva is like, huh? And he's lamenting, saying that, you know what? I got you, Supreme Lord, the purpose of life. I was worshipping you for broken pieces of glass. Like I want this universe and I want this. What nonsense. How stupid I am, how fallen I am, that I'm worshipping Krishna for getting, kingdom, and this is so despicable. I've gotten the diamonds of your vision and I'm worshipping you for broken pieces of glass. I have no value. But the Lord still says that, since you worship me, he gives him a kingdom greater than his grandfather. He comes back, he gives him this Dhruva planet, the pole star. He gives him that planet, and then he says, you go back and your father will welcome you with open arms. In the meantime, Narada Muni goes back to the place where the kingdom, and King Uttanpad is extremely he's broken down. He's saying, my son, because of my actions, he left. And he goes to search for his son. He's not able to find him. Narada Muni says, don't worry. Your son will come back in a few months and he'll be completely God realized. So when Dhruva Maharaj comes back, they're so happy. And in a few years, Dhruva Maharaj is made the king and he becomes the king. And then he rules for a number of years. There's a whole lot of stories after that, Dhruva Maharaj. But here's the pastime. So the thing we need to understand is that what are the qualifications for doing bhakti? Do you need to be very educated? No. Do you need to be of a certain age?
No.
Do you need to be born in a certain type of family? No. Right? So what is stopping us?
Faith.
So we should not think that this hearing and speaking of Bhagavatam is not ordinary activity. It is transcendental activity. And the fact that we have opportunity to hear Bhagavatam and speak Bhagavatam is not by chance. Not that by chance that you came here today. Right? It's not by chance. That the opportunity to hear Bhagavatam and speak Bhagavatam is a very rare thing. Right? We're conducting programs, giving people opportunity to hear Krishna Katha for free. There is no charge. In fact, we're giving prasadam also after they come. But still, very few people come. Why? Krishna says in Gita that Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschid yatadi siddhaye yatadam api siddhanam kaschid mam veti tatvataha. He says, Manushyanam, of people, sahasreshu means millions of people. Kaschid yatadi siddhaye. Very few people will be even interested in spirituality. And of those very few people who are interested, most people will get distracted or deviated or misled. Very few people out of that will actually understand, okay, this is the right path. Krishna says that Bahunam Janmanam Ante. Bahunam means, in 7th chapter, after many, many births. So, Bhagavad Gita 7th chapter. Bahunam Janmanam Ante. After many, many births, Gyanvan Mam Prapadyate. The Gyanis will surrender to me. Not the fools. Krishna says about fools also. Avijananti mam mudha manusim tanumashridam. The fools will deride me when I come to this world. They will never understand me. So we have to decide whether we want to be in the camp of fools or gyanis. So there's bahunam janmanam ante gyanvan mam prapadyate. Vasudeva sarvamiti. Then they will understand that Vasudeva Krishna is the ultimate goal of life. Some Mahatma, those kind of Mahatmas are very rare. So durlabha. So we should not be very surprised why everybody is not crowding here to hear Krishna Katha. Because it's very rare. People will, if some actor from some Indian movie comes, even if they charge $100 ticket, people will stand in line and go. Right? Because they feel that is more important. But Krishna Katha, which is million times more valuable, if you give for free also, people will not come. Why? That's how it is. But we should not worry about what other people do. We should worry about what we need to do. Right? So we have opportunity here, Krishna Katha. We should maximize. And take the example of personalities like Dhruva Maharaj and others, that how they focus their life. So we will stop here. Any questions or comments? We have like 10-15 minutes. Anybody has questions, comments?
Brahma has so many sons, right?
Right.
So Swayambhu Manu is...
Answer to the question is a big answer. So I'll just kind of explain it to you at a high level, and then we can go into as much detail as you want. So this Kali Yuga duration is 432,000 years. That is the duration of Kali Yuga. We are 5,000 years into Kali Yuga. So anybody who says their Kalki Avatar is about 427,000 years too early. Right? So this chronological issue with that. So that's one. The Yuga before Kali Yuga is Dwapara Yuga, which is double of Kali Yuga's size. It's 864,000 years. The Yuga cycle before Dwapara Yuga is Treta Yuga, which is 1.2 million years. It's double. It's 3 times of Kali Yuga. And Satyuga, which is the first Yuga, is 4 times of Kali Yuga, which is 1.7 million years. Right? So all these 4 put together is one Yuga cycle. One Yuga cycle. Right? And there are 1,000 Yuga cycles put together is 1 day of Brahma. In the life of Brahma, it's 1 day. That's all. Right? And in 1 day of Brahma, there are 70 Manus who come. 70 Manus who come. And Brahma lives like that for 100 years. So you have 1 day of Brahma, night of Brahma is the same duration. So 1,000 Yuga cycles is his day, 1,000 Yuga cycles is his night, and Brahma lives like that for 100 years. 365 into 100. So he's like, that's the duration of life of Brahma per Shastra. There are 70 Manus, and different Manus come in different time frame, right? So Swayambhu Manu, right now we are in Vaivasvata Manvantara. So the Manu who is, currently the Manu is Vivaswan. His name is Vivaswan. And he is so we are in Vaivasvata Manvantara. And so this is the duration of life of Brahma in one universe. Like that there are millions of universes. Each universe has Brahma. So Brahma is not a person, it's a post. And each universe has a Brahma. And in the creation there are millions of universes. Each universe has one Brahma. Coming from the Supreme Lord. That is how the Shastras explain. So when we start understanding how these personalities did this or that, the time chronology is very different for us to even grasp some of those things. That's the reason I kind of wanted to explain it from that perspective, that when we say why this person did this, first of all we have to understand, okay, when did he do it? What yuga was the ability to protect the multiple women was their ability. And they protected them. It's not like they married them and abandoned them. Right? Now it's hard to even marry once. So on both sides I'm saying, not just for husband. But so our ability, if you're the king, then you give protection. So for us to be able to understand some of these things from our point of view becomes very difficult. So we always look at things from our point of view because that's all we can do. But the knowledge is, so we have to understand the frog in the well mentality. That's what ends up happening. Right? You've heard that story, frog in the well? Right? Yeah, there was a frog who was living in a well. And then a new frog came into the well from outside. He welcomed him saying, "Oh, very nice to see you. Where did you come from?" He says, "I came from ocean." Ocean? What is ocean? He said, "No, it's a very big body of water." How big? Bigger than my well? Oh yeah. Double size of my well? No, much bigger. 5 times? No. 100 times? He says, no, much bigger than that. Hey, you must be lying. There is no such thing. It's not possible. And that is what happens to all of us. That we can only look at it from our perspective. And when we start seeing things which are so outside our perspective, that we're saying, there is no way this can be true. There is no way this can be true because it does not fit in my perception. There's another story like this. There's a Gwalan in Mathura, and she would sell milk in these earthen pots called lotas. And then one day she had to go to the town to buy a sari. And so she went to the cloth store and she asked, "What is the cost of your cloth?" And he said whatever dollars or whatever he said. And he said, so how many lotas of cloth will I get for that? And this person is like, no. Like, we don't measure cloth in parts. So what do you mean? You're trying to cheat me? Just because I'm from a village, you're trying to cheat me? Everything is measured in parts. Because all she knows is measuring milk in parts. So she cannot imagine anything can be measured in anything else other than a part. So similarly, we have all these lotas in our head. Right? And then when we hear a concept, we feel that has to somehow fit into my lota. Of my conception of what is right, what is appropriate. And if it doesn't fit in there, then I'm obviously going to question it. So what ends up happening, the paradigm shift that has to happen when we hear Shastra is, we have to clear all that. And accept it. When we accept it, then we start understanding it from the right perspective. Like people ask questions, right? Hey, why Krishna did this? Why Krishna did that? It's like, okay, when I first come and meet somebody, I come for the first time. Right? I'm meeting Anil Prabhu for the first time. I start asking him, "So Anil, when did you first meet your wife? Where did you go for honeymoon?" Is it an appropriate question to ask? First time I meet some person? No. Right? At least I should know him. Then maybe if I know him really well, then I might be able to ask him that question. Even then it might not be appropriate. But we have no idea who God is. We have no idea. And then we want to straight away start asking the most intimate questions without having any capacity to understand even the answers. That becomes a problem. And then we have this mindset that, hey, since you're not able to answer this question, obviously it's all bogus. Or it's not fitting into my paradigm, it's all bogus. What is that ability? Right? We try to understand infinite. Infinite plus infinity plus infinity is still infinity. Infinity minus infinity is infinity. We're trying to understand infinite with our limited conception, and then saying that unless I understand it, I'm not going to accept. It'll never work. Bhakti has to, the idea of bhakti is to have love and not understanding. Jnana will not give us love. The example of children is there, right? Your son, he's 9 years old. Do you know how his body parts work? Do you know how much bile his liver produces? How many milliliters? Does that make any difference in how much you love him?
No.
So Jnana doesn't create love. Right? I mean, he has all these organs in his body. You have no idea how they work. Right? But you don't have to know. Even if you knew, would that make you love him more? No.
Same thing.
It's irrelevant. Same way in bhakti, this jnana components are irrelevant at some point. We have jnana so that we can have some faith. It's given. But once you have love, right, then that is what matters. When you, even husband wife, you have love, right? You don't need any proof that he's faithful to you. On a daily basis, some report doesn't come to you saying, yeah, I saw all the activities that he did. Faithful, yes, good. No. So at that point, it just becomes unnecessary data, noise, irrelevant. When Yashoda was feeding Krishna milk, she was not thinking, oh, he's God. She was thinking, hey, if I don't feed him milk, he'll die. He needs milk, otherwise he will die. He's my child. And that is the relationship Yashoda wanted with Krishna. And Krishna wanted with Yashoda. He didn't want her to think that, oh, I'm God and Yashoda is offering dandavata obeisances to Krishna. That is not what Yashoda wants. That is not what Krishna wants. They don't care. You may be God, okay, that's fine. Apne ghar mein ho. Here, listen to what I'm saying. That is the mood that she has. So I didn't specifically answer your question, but I wanted to set the paradigm that, a lot of these questions are things that, unless we understand the whole paradigm, it's very difficult to even comprehend the answer. So our focus has to be very specifically on what can help us in our practical bhakti. Right? So knowing how Brahma, who he married, is going to help us practically in our bhakti, we should definitely ask the question. But if it is not going to practically help us execute bhakti, then it's just like asking, how much bile does my son's liver produce? The answer to the question is it information? Yes. But is it relevant? No. That is the point I was trying to make. Does that make sense, Mataji?
Yeah. And I have one more question.
Yes, please.
Because Brahma has so many sons, like Narada, even
Narada is a son,
also
yes.
son, and Prajapati and Manu, and so many sons he have, and even last time Prashant Prabhu, yeah, he told me Shiva also come from the.
Yes.
He's also one of his
Right.
sons.
Right.
So he has so many sons, and I'm confused when they are saying sons and some relations with the other people, like this. Manu's daughter married the other son of Brahma itself. So how come it relates? Some of the things I'm confused because I have very little knowledge in it. But still, I want to
Yeah,
try
so
to know about the.
Brahma's service specifically is to be the progenitor. A specific service. So everybody has a specific service, right? So his service, and they're all working under the instruction of God. His specific service in material creation is to create all living entities and give them specific bodies and so on and so forth. And that is the service he's performing. So whatever he does is with that service. So we cannot apply our rules to, just like if you have a set of rules for a prison, right? That lights off, this and that, you have rules. But if the jailer goes to the prison, he cannot be asked to follow all those rules. He is not within the prison system. He is not one of the prisoners, right? So the rules don't apply to him. So when we have our social rules and we cannot start applying those rules to the jailer, saying that, hey, you know what, lights 10 o'clock, why are you walking outside? Right? So that is what we try to do. Is what I'm saying. So the rules don't apply. So we cannot try to understand the activities of those personalities based on our value system. The value system that is given. So just like if you, you hear this all the time, right? When human beings who are really stupid go into the zoo and they try to jump into a lion's cage. I've heard so many cases last year, right? That last year also it happened. This guy, he jumped from this overhead. What do you call that? This wire thing. This
The
what do you call that?
bungee.
No, rope train or whatever it is, right? So this thing goes over, and a lot of zoos have it where you can actually sit on it, and there's a rope train or whatever, and goes around.
Okay.
Whatever it's called, I don't know what it's called. This guy jumped from there into a lion's cage. He wanted because he wanted to. It's not like he fell. He jumped into the lion's cage. It happened in I think Philadelphia, or I don't know where it happened. It's recent, somewhere here. And the lion mauled him. Then he was, I think he survived, but and it happened in San Francisco. It happened a couple of years ago with two brothers. They were taunting tigers, and they put their hand inside the tiger's cage, and the tiger just kind of got annoyed and just killed him. Killed one of the brothers, right? So if you annoy some other person, right, or some other person annoys you, right, and if you just take out a knife and cut his hand off, will that be acceptable? No. So you have to face consequences. You'll have to go to court and so on and so forth. Now the lion did the same thing. Are they going to take the lion to court?
No.
Why? Because he did the same thing. So the rules that apply to you cannot apply to the lion, right? Although the activity is the same, the value systems are different. So we cannot apply our value system to the lion saying, hey, you know what, go to court now, get a lawyer, do you have a lawyer? It doesn't apply. Those things don't make any sense. Right? So similarly, for personalities like that, we cannot apply our value systems. And that's where I'm trying to explain that. Okay?
One more thing, if we still want to think logically, like logical mind is very dominating. If you go in that way, we all are brother sisters, right? Yeah, force is one. Even if you see in that manner, if you see the in chronological order, we are all, everybody is brother or sister of in that way. Because the single source is Brahma.
Because Brahma only set these kind of rules for the human beings, right? Then I have a question like why they are not following those relations.
Same thing with the jailer. Jailer sets the rules.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to follow himself, right? He doesn't have to go inside the cell at 10 o'clock at night. The rules are not, so that's what it is.
Prabhu, I have one more question.
Yes, Bruce.
You said like Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudeva is Satyuga mantra.
Right.
What was the mantra for Dwapara Yuga and Treta Yuga?
I'm not so sure, bro. I don't know. But the four yugas are have very specific processes. For instance, in Satyuga, the process was meditation. In Treta Yuga, the process was elaborate sacrifices, yagya. You do big yagyas. In Dwapara Yuga, the process was deity worship, elaborate worship. In Satyuga, it's Sankirtan, chanting the holy name of the Lord. Because we cannot do yagya now, not possible. All bogus ingredients we have, we cannot do proper yagya at all. So the only yagya that works is Sankirtan. I think. We cannot do meditation. Even like for 5 minutes, we cannot meditate. Forget about meditating for 10 years or 100 years. It's ruled out. Very few people can do it. It's not for mass of people. If I tell you that, hey, for the next 10 years, we're going to go for this meditation, how many people will sign up?
One.
You want to sign up?
No, I
You raised
said
your
maybe
hand.
5.
5 minutes.
No, 5.
So we will do Arti now.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Who's going to sing?
आप सिंग करिए टिट्टी को बोलता हूँ आरती कर लीजिए
Okay, that's fine. Thank you. Shri Prabhupada ki
जय
Rantra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. So at least we read from Bhagavatam.
Should I stop this?
No, hold on. Yes.
Yes. Wait, I can stop it? Shut it.
Mahabharata was done like 5,000 years ago.
That's when Lord Krishna
That
came.
is happened in Mahabharata happened in Kali Yuga itself.
No, it was just before Kali. So when Lord Krishna left, after Lord Krishna left was
That is
Dwapar
called
Yuga.
Dwapar Yuga.
End of Dwapar Yuga.
End of Dwapar Yuga. And Ramayana,
Treta Yuga.
Treta Yuga.
But these are all eternally happening pastimes. They keep happening over and over again in different universes. So
Help.
Aryan.
blow the conch, or you want me to blow?
Yes.
You know how to blow it? Devendra Prabhu, you know how to blow conch?
I tried in the past.
Subrat know that
one by one, otherwise she get confused. When she does the first one. Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Dishatarine Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharine Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, 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 Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya विष्णुपाद परम परिव्राज कचार्य अष्टोत्तर शास्त्री श्रीमद डिवाइन ग्रेस ऐसी भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्री प्रभुपाद की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय, नमाचार्य श्री हरदास ठाकुर की जय, प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद, श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवास आदि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय, श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्यामकुंड राधाकुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय, ब्रजभूमि वृंदावन धाम की जगन्नाथपुर पुरुषोत्तम क्षेत्र धाम की नवदीप मायापुरी धाम की गंगा मई की जमुना मई की भक्ति देवी श्रीमती तुलसी महारानी की समवेत भक्त वृंद की यथा गौर प्रेमानंदी। All glories assemble the devotees, all glories assemble the devotees, all glories assemble the devotees, all glories to Lord's feet of Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Subrat, you want to sing Russian first?
Namaste Narshingaya.
Namaste Narshingaya.
Kalali Lali Lali.
Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanu Brinda Krishna Bhaktira Narani Rupa Jaya Jagdisha Hare Jaya Jagdisha Hare Jaya Thank you very much. Mahaprasade Govinde.
Mahaprasade Govinde.
Namo Brahmana Vaishnave.
Namo Brahmana Vaishnave.
Svalva Punyavartam Rajan. Vishwasu Naiva Jayate. Sarira Vidyajal. Jodendiyata Ekal. जीव फैले विषय सागरे तारा मध्य जीवाती दोबो मय सुदुर्मति ताके देता कठिन संसारे कृष्ण बड़ दोयमोय कोरी बार जी भजोय शे प्रसाद अन्न दिलो भाई शे अन्नामृत पाओ राधा कृष्ण गुण गाओ प्रेमे दाको श्री चैतन्य निताय हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे राम 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 हरे हरे थैंक यू